Welcome. Let's go ahead and start. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us your journey to becoming an author?
Great. Okay, so I'm Dr. Kimberly Ann Gordon Biddle. I go by Dr. Kimberly A. Gordon Biddle when I write. Um, my journey to authoring. So I write both picture books and textbooks. The first book I wrote was actually a textbook, and that came out in 2013. And my first picture book came out in 2017. It took longer. Um, so my journey really started when I was in graduate school, and I thought, I want to learn how to write children's books, and because I thought that would be important, and it's a good way to help children and families. And so I joined SCBWI and took a lot of courses and workshops and kept trying and honing my craft and submitting and trying and honing my craft, getting better, taking more workshops, doing this and that, getting a critique group. And then finally, in 2017, my first book, picture book, came out. And so, yeah, you need the skills and you need good critique groups.
And I should jump in and say that you were one of our very first interviews when we started doing IG Lives years ago. So it would be fun to go back and watch that first interview because that was about your very early picture books, the ones that you're just mentioning.
Yes, yes, that would be interesting to see.
And so you're an emeritus professor of child and adolescent development. So from that perspective, we talk a lot on the show about the importance of diverse children's books, but from your kind of academic perspective, why is it so important for kids to have diverse books to read?
Yes, that's a very important question. So there's two basic reasons. One is so that children who are from diverse ethnic backgrounds can find characters they can relate to,
Mm.
characters they get more excited about reading, and they're more motivated to read. Right? Sometimes children don't want to read, but when you give them a book about a character that they can relate to, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, and they want more, right?
Mm.
And then the other reason is for children to learn about each other's cultures and ethnic groups and to learn the similarities and the differences, right? Everybody should learn about ethnic groups and cultures that are different than their own, right?
Mm.
And so that's the thing. Books open up that world. Okay. They let children know, okay, so she speaks a different language. And at dinner, they sit on the floor or whatever. It helps children to learn about cultures that are different than their own. And that's the basic two reasons.
Well, you had mentioned earlier we were talking about your picture books that you published in starting in 2017. And what's interesting is that you have published books through a small indie publisher, and now you have your first book with a traditional publisher. So what are some of the similarities or differences between doing publishing those two ways?
Okay. Yes, my first three picture books came with a small indie publisher. And the one I have now, As You Are, A Hope for Black Sons, which I'll just show here, is my first medium size sort. It's not one of these, it's medium size, but they are considered a traditional publisher. And I had to have an agent. So I had to get an agent first and to get to this publisher, right? So the differences are one, indie publishers, small indies usually don't need an agent.
Hmm.
And the biggest difference I'm finding is my medium sized publisher, which is Imagination Press. They have more resources.
Hmm.
They had a real big marketing arm and a publicity arm that the little indie publisher just did not have, right? Another thing is that the advance with the publisher that I just worked with, Imagination, I got an advance on the royalties.
Mm.
With the small indie press, you get sometimes like a real small advance, like $200 or something, and then the rest of it is just royalties
Mm.
after you sell out your advance. But I got a nice advance with Imagination, the medium-sized publisher. The
Mm.
advance was a lot bigger. They have more marketing, a lot more, and more publicity. The similarities are the family feel. You feel like I had a lot of contact with the indie publisher. I had a lot of contact with the editor and the owner and all that. And also with the medium-sized publisher, Imagination Press, I talked to my editor at least once a month, sometimes twice a month,
Mm.
sometimes twice in 1 week when we were working on the book, right? I mean, and then I know the marketing team, the lead, and we email back and forth, and the publicity team, all that. It's like a family
Mm.
almost. And I've heard that when you're with the bigger publishers, you don't get that much attention. I don't know because I've never been with, like Penguin Random House or, nothing like that. Um, but it still has that family feel, right? We are going to be going to American Library Association together with this book and making a presentation. So
Mm.
yeah, we're going to be presenting with this book. Me, the marketing guy, and my editor.
Oh,
So yeah,
and
it's still a family feel.
that's nice because I think that's something people worry about when they go to traditional publishing. Like you said, that it would feel very impersonal, that you don't get a lot of attention, but it sounds like that's not the case, at least not with a medium-sized publisher.
Exactly, exactly. Like I said, I haven't had any experience with, like Penguin Random House or any of those bigger ones, like HarperCollins or nothing,
Right.
those big publishers. Um, but I've heard like if you're not a big name, you don't get a lot of attention, is
Mm.
what I've heard.
Well, let's talk about your beautiful new book, As You Are, A Hope for Black Sons. I've had a chance to read it. It is really beautiful. Tell us about the book and the inspiration behind it.
Okay, so I have a son. So that's the biggest inspiration, right?
Right.
It's about my love for my son. Now, the reason why, the sort of like inciting incident, if you will, for the book was during the time of George Floyd and all that. The one that really got to me was Ahmaud Arbery.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that case,
Mhm.
but he was in his own neighborhood
Mhm.
going for a jog and was killed by neighbors
Mhm.
who thought he was doing something wrong. I was like, oh, wow. It made me afraid for my son, right? He could just be in his neighborhood jogging and something could happen. And I said, wow, what do you do about that? What can you do about that? I made a post on what was called Twitter and is now called X. And I said, don't hold this against me as an author, but sometimes I'm afraid for my son. That post went viral.
Mhm.
It's the only post I've ever made that went viral. And so I said, okay, I need to do something. And so I wrote the first draft of this book.
How does your book help? Because I think there are probably so many mothers who have those same kind of feelings, mothers of black sons. And they, we often hear about the talk that you have to have with your sons. How does your book help with those kinds of conversations, especially when kids are really young?
Yes, yes. So, okay, it's important for your kids to know that you love them,
Mm,
right? It's so important and that's what this is basically about. I mean, when I first wrote it, it was called Love and Protect You. That was my title. It changed, of course, right? I wanted my son to know that I love him and I want him to be protected forever, right? And I can't do it always. And I wanted to give him tools to sort of, when he's out in the world and what to do. And I wanted him to have hope, right? When he's out in the world. And Imagination Press is like the perfect publisher
mm,
because they care about things like that. And my author note in the back has a lot for parents. It talks about racial and ethnic differences and how children at different stages, how they understand those, and how to explain it to your child depending on how old they are and what stage they are in. Because at age 3, they notice those differences.
mhm.
And depending on how parents respond, it's going to change their experience.
Mm.
So for the moms and dads of males, African American males in particular, there's a lot of things to do there. In the author's note, how to talk to your child about it. And for people who do not have African American kids, also how to talk to your child about it. Well, they have, difference in skin tone, or they have difference in their culture and beliefs, or maybe in language. But there's, it teaches you how to advocate for your child. It teaches you how to imbue a self-worth in your child, right? So yeah, they really wanted a scientifically sound back matter. And so my degrees were very important to them. And they wanted me to use my expertise to explain to families how to do that. And the main thing is that you don't want your son to be bitter or fearful. You want him to have hope. And that's how the new name came about. And it teaches you how to seek help if needed, counseling if you need it, how to instill self-worth, give them unconditional love, all of that is in there. Because when you give them that unconditional love, you are their safe harbor. They can express feelings to you, and they know you're a place where they can return, right? For that encouragement, that self-worth, that feeling of, oh, I'm okay, even when the world might be mean.
There's so much to unpack in what you said because, I mean, one is like you said, kind of the point of the book is how to help your sons when the world doesn't see them as you do, especially as they get older, when they're small. A lot of times the world may see them the same way that, oh, they're so cute, they're so adorable. But as they get older, that really shifts. But to do it in a way that doesn't make them fearful, that seems like that's such a hard balance to do. And I mean, the book gives a lot of really wonderful language you can use with your kids. But like you said, that back matter is amazing because it really does go through. What I think a lot of parents struggle with is how to talk to them at the different stages. And with your expertise, you can really hone in and say, okay, at this age, this is how you need to talk. At this age, this is what they can understand and how you can approach it. I mean, it's really amazing. I mean, the book itself, but also the back matter is so valuable. And I love that the press that you work with, that they really wanted that and encouraged it.
Yes, thank you so much for noticing that. Yes, the back matter is amazing. And you have to use different words with kids at different ages. because of their cognitive differences, right? They don't understand certain things. They'll notice differences at age 3, but you can't talk to them like they're 10.
Right.
You have to talk to them like they're 3. And I give actual sentences and words that parents can use in the back matter. So,
Yeah, it's so helpful to do that, and also to go back to something you said about that unconditional love. Why is that such an
yeah.
important part of it, that to kind of make them feel like they do have a safe place to come back to?
So, okay. Yeah, that unconditional love, all children need that, right? They need for their parents to be that safe harbor, a place where they can come, a place where they can express feelings when they need to, a place that they know will always be welcoming, right?
Mhm.
All children need that, but African American males, they're more likely to have these experiences where they experience microaggressions, adultification, all this stuff going on, right? Sometimes it's very deliberate, some sort of aggressive act toward them, right? So that unconditional love lets him know I can go back home to my parents.
Mm.
That's my safe harbor. Or I can at least call them, right? That's my safe harbor. I can go to them. And also, too, they need to not get bitter,
Right.
right? They need to not get angry. They need to have that hope, right? And so that's the name. They need to stay hopeful like that. And that sort of love allows that. And there's also other things in the book that I talk about, to keep them hopeful and looking forward and being positive, because you don't want them to get angry or bitter.
I would just imagine this is the kind of book that so many parents are looking for. What kind of response have you gotten from readers, as you know, now that the book is out?
Readers have been very positive, and it's interesting. It's like it's good, it's helpful for parents,
Hmm.
but the response of the children,
Oh,
right? Yes, I've had mothers and fathers say, my son, he picked up this book and just stared at it, right? Because of the cover, that mom caressing that little baby, right? He's just like, or my son picked it up and said, that's beautiful, mom, or, something like that, right? And then after they hear the story, they want to hear it again,
mm.
right? And some of them can read it. It's simple language, right? Not very many words. Some of them can read it and they like to read it again. And, you know, um, but it's just that cover that David Wilkerson did, just
Beautiful.
draws the kids in, right? And some parents have said, well, this is like good as a Mother's Day gift too, or like for
Yeah.
mothers or for parents.
Mhm.
And not just the back matter, it's just that love that kind of radiates
Mm.
through the book, right? Um, so yeah,
I
it's
think
been a
all of us have that or most of us have that feeling towards our kids, but I think yours really helps give parents the language to use to remind us to say that to our kids, to show that to our kids. You know, like you said, it has, and even whether through the text of the book itself, or like you say, you give the some examples in the back matter. But it's just such a beautiful book, and you have on your website. People need to make sure they go visit that because you have a beautiful song. Did you write the song? Is that you singing in the recording? Because people
yes.
can go and they can listen to it, and I believe the lyrics are the text from the book, right? Or it's based on that.
Um, the lyrics are based on the book, but it's not the text
Oh,
directly. It's called From My Heart is
um,
the name of the song. And it just talks about how giving birth, when you get that child right after birth, it's just beautiful. And in my experience, I just loved him right at that moment. right? When they put him on my chest. And then I thought, oh, he's got a lot to learn. And but I just loved him right from the heart, from the very beginning. And it talks about how I want him to be loved and protected. It talks about asking God to love and protect him when I'm not there.
Hmm.
And yes, I wrote the song and I did perform it. Yes, not the music part. The music part were other instruments and instrumentalists and stuff, but it is my voice.
I thought it was. I thought that was you singing. It's really beautiful. People should go check that out. And then I have to ask, since we've been talking so much about your son, what does he think of the book?
He says, Mom, that's great. My son is now a college freshman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. And he goes, Mom, that's great. I'm happy for you. And I said, but what do you think about the sentiment in it? Right? He's like, yeah, you love me. You love me, Mom. I know you love me, but he's at that age where he's individuating, right? He's becoming
Right.
an adult. He goes, yeah. And but he has said, I know you love me, and that helps keep me going,
Mm.
right? That helps keep
Great.
me going,
Mhm.
which is what that unconditional love is about, right? That safe heart and express my feelings to you, right?
Yeah.
So, and you can help me and know what to do about it and stuff like that.
Oh,
So,
that's beautiful.
but
Even as
yeah,
he's going off into the world and making his own life, he still feels that. So,
yeah, it's wonderful.
well, thank you for joining us to talk, even with all of our technical problems, talking with us today. Um, do you want to tell us a little bit about anything else you might be working on, or you have other ideas for more picture books, or what are your upcoming projects?
Okay, yes, I do. We are working on another book with Imagination Press again, and the same editor, and it's about um, in the simple terms, it's about learning to ride a bike
Hmm.
on a balance bike. Do
Hmm.
you know that
Yes,
new
the
way to
ones without
learn,
the
right?
pedals, right?
Right, without the
Mhm.
pedals. And it's a young girl who is late because usually children, with those balance bikes by 3 or 4, 5, 6, they're riding them
Mhm.
with no problems. Well, this young girl she's about 7, 8, and she still has not got it down yet. And again, we talk about the psychological underpinnings and things of that, and how to encourage your child if they are a late developer.
Hmm.
Because you could be late developing lots of things, like maybe late reading, late riding a bike, late finding a friend, or having trouble finding, like maybe you move and you can't find a friend or whatever. And so we talk about the principles of that in the back matter. But the book is just a cute story. The little girl wants to ride her bike in the Juneteenth parade.
Oh, nice.
And so she's practicing and she's trying to learn it and that sort of thing. So that's what I'm working on now
Oh,
with
I
the
love the
same
tie into
publisher.
Juneteenth.
Yeah, we talk about being brave and overcoming your fear. And
Mm. Oh, I love it. Well, when it comes out, we will be sure to share about it in our stories. So thank you so much for joining us today, especially, like I said, persevering even despite our technical difficulties. I really appreciate it.
well, I appreciate this opportunity. I love you guys at Read Your World Multicultural Book Day. And like you said, I've been one of your earlier
Yes,
followers and interviewees. And
yes.
yeah, hope to keep doing this.
Yeah, been a very long time supporter of Read Your World. Back, like you said, back when it was Multicultural Children's Book Day. So we appreciate all of your support and this beautiful new book. So congratulations.
Thank you.